Hi everyone, welcome to Value. So today we're talking about Netflix, and these guys are launching an ad-supported model next month in November. And the biggest question is this a game changer? Is this really something that could persuade you to look at the stock and go, this is something that could be a game changer and it could get the stock price going? So we're going to dive in and we're going to look at this. So firstly, the monthly pricing is going to be $6.99, and the base pricing for the basic without the ads is about $10. So are you going to be persuaded to change, to be fair, are you going to be persuaded to keep Netflix at that price? If you were thinking of not keeping it because you're like, oh, actually $10 is quite a bit, I don't want to keep it. Or, like if I manage to save a few dollars, I'll keep it on the side for the time being. Or will it actually entice people to join? Say, like anyone that thought it was quite expensive, all of a sudden, knock it down by a few dollars, and then it becomes something that's affordable. And with the ads, as I said, it's just going to be at the start of your content, and at the end. So if you're watching a 30-minute show, basically you're going to see an ad at the start and an ad at the end, so it's not going to cause any interruptions. Their idea of ads is about 4 to 5 minutes of ads per hour, so it might be like 2 minutes of ads at the start, two to 3 minutes at the end, or supposedly something like that, depending on how long your show is. So it could be like 1 minute at the start, 1 minute at the end for a 30-minute show. So then you get about 4 minutes if you watch two 30-minute shows. So I assume that's the kind of model that they're looking at, because they don't really want advertising to make it, awful and unappealing. Kind of like when you're watching a YouTube video and then an ad just pops up right in the middle, and it's kind of annoying sometimes. So that's the kind of thing that Netflix is probably considering, whether it actually gets more people to join or actually stops people from leaving. I think it's going to make some difference, but not a lot of difference. But I think just enough to really keep them going along. So in terms of their share price, it's $230, which gives them a $102 billion valuation. If we look at their net income, last year their net income was $5 billion, and in the prior year was 2.7, and in 2019 it was 1.8. So overall, these guys are actually growing net income by a very, very good, healthy margin. So that kind of is quite persuasive in that if you're looking at that kind of trend and going, actually, if they can continue to increase their net profit at a good margin, that 102 billion valuation isn't too bad, because you're looking at just about a 5% return on that kind of market cap, which is pretty standard given how large this company is. And with them entering the domains of like gaming, they have brought a gaming company. I should look at that next time. But for now, I think the focus is more towards the ad-supported model. Like the gaming side potentially could be another game changer, but that's still very undeveloped at the moment. So we're just looking at the near-term success that could pop up if they do have an ad-supported model. So with the ad-supported model, I think most people probably won't like it, because most people just don't like ads, depending on what type of ads they tend to show, of course. But I think at the end of the day, it's probably going to keep some people there, and it's probably going to increase a few extras that they usually wouldn't have. But yeah, like at that pricing, I guess it's reasonable. It's not. It would have been more ideal if they probably just made it possibly half the price of a basic model, or even free. But of course, maybe they don't want to like do that because it's gonna cause a lot of people to change, or they're not that confident in how much advertising dollars that they're able to bring in at the moment. Potentially in the future, when they get good advertising dollars coming in, they start lowering that kind of ad-supported model to a cheaper price when it gets more competitive. As we scroll down here, we can see, as it says here, this led to Disney Plus to announce it will roll out an advertising tier in December, for $7.99. So there you go. There's the competition as well, and yeah, like at the same time, it's like whatever Netflix does, Disney does, possibly Amazon might do. So there you go. It's more or less, it's a very competitive kind of area to be in. But overall, I think they're holding their own. Like people who have Netflix tend to keep it there, majority anyway. And they seem to be fairly good at looking at what's working right now and what's not working, and then that's helping their margins. So over time, their net income is doing really well. Revenue is also doing pretty well. They're doing a good constant kind of 7 billion at least per quarter. So they're getting closer to 8 billion per quarter, which like they're likely going to be going over 30 billion in revenue this year, which is going to be very good for them. And those are good. That's a good healthy consistency that you want to see in those kind of companies. Right now the pricing's not bad. Like I did a video a while back and I thought about anything at $170 was a very, very good deal. Anything right now at $230 is not too bad. Like I think if it came down cheaper, it's gonna be a better deal. So back in July, it would have been a really, really good time to be buying in July. So whenever it gets to that pricing, because Netflix is quite a stable kind of business right now, as much as people would like to talk about, hey, they're not growing, it's at that point where it's not a matter of fact that they grow or not. It's actually more the fact that they can actually sustain what they have and continue to push out really, really good numbers, because each time they increase the pricing, the margins also, get pretty good as well. Because of course they can just like cancel more shows and just focus the dollars on the best shows, and it's going to keep you coming along. And yeah, like it's kind of like with HBO, they have House of Dragon and it keeps people subscribing. And Netflix, it's the same thing. They just have to have their hit shows continuously coming along, and people are going to keep that subscription. And yeah, I think that's one thing that these guys, as long as they can keep that consistency, is actually not a bad pricing to look at the stock. So yeah, like anything about 170, even 180 is a really, really good deal. I don't think we're going to see that pricing for a while now, unless the market just takes a massive tumble, which it could very well do. We never know. Yes, but at 230, I think if you like the stock, it's worth buying some, and then if it comes down cheaper, buy some more. Like, I don't think Netflix is one of those stocks that you can lose big on, because they're just so, good at what they do. They kind of just have cemented themselves where there's a good consistent base that will just stay on subscribing no matter what, because a lot of people don't actually find it too expensive to be subscribing to too many, if that people subscribe to 2-3 services and are a family, they tend to think it's all right. Like I think Netflix is really, really good on documentaries, whereas Disney is really good on the other content that's good for kids. And then HBO is really good for more like adult kind of type of entertainments, kind of like House of Dragon, Last Week Tonight, those new shows, they're like not very, for kids kind of situation. You've got Disney for kids, you've got HBO for adults, and then Netflix kind of just is kind of like the in between. Like it's like, oh, if you have Netflix, it's good for the kids and it's good for the adults. So then it's kind of like it's in its own spot where it's probably going to do alright. So hence why I think the stock's not too bad at this pricing. Of course, it's going to be a lot better. Like even at 200, that's pretty good pricing. Like you can start to establish what pricing is good, because if they're earning about $5 billion, anything with a 5% return on the market value, market cap, is actually not too bad. As it's kind of, if you look at the history, the consistency of these numbers just shows you that it's just going to continue to grow upwards, and it gives them time as they make more income to invest in more content and then also invest in other sectors. Like if they start to get into gaming and they do a really, really good job, they could actually hit a new curve because no one else is really big in that gaming space. Not like Netflix is. Like, I mean, there is Steam, but you're just buying individual games. If Netflix can create a subscription model for games, that could potentially be a game changer as well. But that's, too far down the line to really consider whether it makes a difference or not in the short term or even in the medium term. But I think if they can hold on to what they have right now enough so that they can start to add different segments over time, you've got a really, really good company on your hands, and hence why the stock is actually at a pretty good pricing right now. If we look at like last year when the stock got to close to $700, you look at that and you go, that's a big difference. Is this a bargain or not? Like last year's valuations were considerably high, and we can attribute that to really, really low interest rates. But now with interest rates rising at such a high speed, the valuation multiples tend to come down significantly. So we're actually at that point where the valuations are actually at a very lower level, and they won't be going upwards until interest rates start coming down. And we don't know when interest rates will come down entirely. Like, it's all dependent on how well the Fed decides that they're going to control inflation or not. So yeah, like, I think overall Netflix is not a bad stock. It's worth considering. It's one of those big, consistent companies that the longer you have to hold the stock, the more likely the chance that you're going to make a profit. Whereas in most cases, if you're in a stock for the short term, it's the shorter term there is that you're in a stock, the riskier it is, of course. Yeah, that's all I have to really say about that. So yeah, overall, I think their ad model is going to keep people there. Like the ones that are leaving, some of them will choose to keep their ad-supported model just to enjoy one or two shows. Because sometimes I find I do that. I keep it there just to enjoy one or two shows. I don't actually watch that much of it, but I keep it there. And maybe something that might be appealing to me, though I'd have to see what the ads were like. If the ads were just horrible or annoying, then I potentially wouldn't keep it there. And it just depends. So like if I'm watching a movie and then an ad shows up halfway, I might not enjoy it that way either. So I think it depends on how well they execute on the longer content as well. So if it's a 2-hour movie, how do you do these ads so that they're not too intrusive? So yeah, no, we'll see next month how it goes. Though at the current situation at $230, I think it's actually a pretty decent pricing. And if you're willing to hold for long term, then it's actually not too bad of a stock to hold. Until then, good luck investing, everyone.